Okay, in this video, we are going to do some more work on our front page. Currently, our front page is just made up these two sections that we left from the sample content that we had imported. Let's go ahead and load up our preview so we can have a look at this again. Okay. First thing I'd like to do is add an image above this section here. There are a couple ways we can do this, but to get started, we need to add a new block above this top row layout. We can do that from this options menu here, clicking that and find insert before. That means it will insert a block before that or above that. It will add the default paragraph block, and we can click here to find an image block, or we can just do the slash and do image. So there are a couple different options we can use for our top image here. Let's go ahead and use just the image block, and we're going to select Media Library to grab one of these example images that were brought in with the sample content. Let's select this one. And as you can see, it is placed it in here. Let's go ahead and save the changes by clicking update, and then we will reload the preview page and see what we have. So if you just pop in an image like that, it is not going to look quite right. And that is because of the alignment settings of the image. If we click on the image, on this toolbar above, we can see the alignment settings right here. Right now, there's no alignment settings, so by default, it's just sitting to the left. What we're going to do is do the full width option. Full width will stretch the image out from edge to edge. Let's click update, refresh our page, and there we can see it spans the entire width now. Now that might be a much bigger image than you really want to use. So there's a few options here. If we click on it again, make sure it's selected, then we can look at our options here. Now in general with images, it's going to show 100% of the image. If you want it to be a little shorter, we could crop it using this crop tool and then choosing the aspect ratio option, and we could make it 16:9, which makes it a little bit smaller. And if we click apply, it will make it a little bit smaller. Not too much though. So what we can do instead of using an image block is we can use what's called a cover block. So let's find the cover block. Here we go. We're going to select Media Library again. Let's go down and choose the original image. This image here is what was created when we cropped it. So it created a new version in the cropped dimensions. But for now, we'll use the original here. We can select. Now, a cover image is intended to be used as a background. So this could be a large image that you can add text over the top. So this can be handy if you want to add some sort of message over the top of your image. But this does act as a background image, which means when it is viewed on smaller screens, it will be cropped and cut a little bit in order to fit into the space of the smaller screen. And we'll look at that in a moment. So for now, let's go ahead and look at a few of the options. So there's a focal point picture. This is really important for when you are wanting to display a specific part of the image. A lot of times it will be a person. So let's go ahead and put this over this person right here, and you'll see why in a minute. There are also some overlay options. So if you want the image to not be super prominent, and you can put an overlay color over it. And you can adjust the transparency of that. And this can be handy if you want to write some text over the top. You can even transform this into a header. We can put a little message here like that. Let's click update and take a look at what we have so far. So that's a way you can add sort of this header at the top of the front page. For now, let's go ahead and remove these text blocks. And we'll remove the overlay. You can do this by going to the small menu and reset. And then let's update it to save our changes. And if we go here again, it'll put it back the way it was. Now let's say we wanted this a little bit taller. Then we can drag this to determine the height of that image. We'll make it 500. This can also be adjusted over here in the settings if you have a specific number you want to type in. So let's update that. And there you can see it has grown a little bit. Now, remember we talked about the focal point. One kind of quick way you can see how your page will look on smaller screens is by grabbing the side of your browser window and just shrinking down or narrowing the width. As you can see, as we move, especially on the content below, the layout is changing automatically. And this is what is meant by a responsive theme or a responsive website. It means that the layout automatically will change depending on the size of the screen. This is what makes a website mobile friendly, or at least one mobile friendly aspect of a website. And you can watch here and see how this shifts and then stacks up when the screen gets to be smaller and smaller. Then you can see how this will be laid out when somebody is looking at it on a mobile device or a tablet. As you can see, when we shrink it down, this person stays central to the image. If we were to change that and put the focal point elsewhere, let's put it over here to the side. It looks okay when you're looking at the desktop because it's displaying the entire image. Oh, it doesn't seem to be changing. There we go. We can see on smaller screens, the person we originally were highlighting is going a little bit off the screen, so they won't be centered. Now it looks like we are highlighting the hand, which may not be what we want to do. So that focal point is an important aspect when working with a cover block in this way. So let's put it back on her. I'm going to shrink this down to 250. And we're going to leave it at that. Okay, moving on to this next section. Let's go ahead and expand all these so we can see how this is all put together. It seems like a lot of blocks just for a little bit of content, but let's remember that a lot of these are providing this structure. So this one row layout block creates a container for this entire gray section here. Within that is another container and another container that defines the rows. We have one row, but with two columns, and this can be seen over here. We have the layout of two columns. If we were to change this to another preset, you can see it changes how it's laid out. That's stacked on top of each other, but this is two equal sized columns. Each one of these has a section, which is a container, and so on. What we see here is this is locked, and that will prevent you from making changes. I'm just going to unlock these quickly. Then we can freely make changes. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is locate this info box, and let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and remove this entire row layout. There we go, because I just want to use the image. So what we're going to use this section for is sort of a small welcome message. You could use this for a pastor welcome message, but for now, let's remove the signature. And then we could just type, that looks good, that looks good. And let's just switch out this. Right now there's a gallery, but we can just change this to a regular image. We can remove this gallery and let's go ahead and we have to add a block into this section here. Let's just use a regular image from our media library. Let's choose this one. Okay, there we go. Update. And here we can see the changes have been made. All right, so let's leave that as it is and go down to our next section.